Okay, so here we go. Pardon me, I had a bit of a cold this week. Voice may be a little raspy. I may cough once or twice, but I'm doing fine today. Um, Continuing on with Little Drummer Boy. Um, I'm going to start by playing a little bit through what we talked about last week and making a few comments. So we started here on the F sharp minor. Okay, so we had that series of three chords, the A, the C sharp 7, and the F sharp minor, followed by the single note. Okay, so one of the things I wanted to point out is if for some reason that is an area of the song that's a little troublesome, don't let that stop you from playing the song. And what I mean by that is, for example, you could leave out the C sharp 7 and you could just play the A twice, go to the F sharp minor. Okay, so then from the beginning of that line, it would be so what I did, like I said, is I left out the C sharp 7, played the A chord twice to the F sharp minor. The other thing that you could do is you could just play the A chord for the entire measure, like we did originally, playing it from the beginning of that second line again. Okay, that's not to say that you shouldn't work on and learn to do it exactly the way it's written, but more or less just pointing out that sometimes if you want to play something, let's say you wanted to play the song for somebody, but that was a troublesome area for you. Well, you want to be able to know how to adapt, have a plan B kind of thing going on, and that would be like plan B. Okay, I really haven't got those three chord changes down, so I'm just going to simplify it. The person you're playing for isn't going to know any different, so that's just kind of a tip or a trick for a guitar performance. I've done that myself. I've worked on an arrangement and I have an area of it that's maybe a little bit difficult, and I practice it and I enjoy it and I want to achieve it, but I don't quite have it yet and I need to play the song, so I will fall back on the simpler version. So that's kind of what I wanted to point out, that is an option that is available as long as you're aware of it, and that's why I'm making you aware of it. Picking it up at line 3. Okay, once again, that I don't think you should really have an issue with. If you do, remember that any of the lines in this song are interchangeable. So the way that we played that third line the first time that we went through the song, it can always be played that way if for some reason you are having trouble with this. So I hope you're getting my point. So let's say you liked going to the F sharp minor, you liked the sound of that in version 2, but when you got to the third line, for some reason you were having trouble with that, well then play the third line the way it was played in the original. So that's kind of my point. You can mix and match these arrangements because the melodies are essentially the same. and all we've done is reharmonize the melodies. So that may have been something you were aware of, but pardon me, I wanted to make sure that you were aware of it, just in case you weren't. Picking it up at line 4. Okay, now we get to the next to last line, and so here's where we're going to do the same thing that I've been discussing. So I've kind of put those funny little tail pieces around these 3 measures, and the reason I'm doing that is to point out that you can play this as written, which is with the A, D minor. But if you wanted to continue with the F sharp minor idea, you could just play the top 3 first measures in place of that. And then you would continue on with the end of that. What is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You continue on with the end of line 6 where you just have those 2. Okay? So once again, those 3 measures from line 6, first 3 measures of line 6 are interchangeable with the first 3 measures of the song. So once again, just pointing out, making you aware that you can mix and match this. And it will sound totally fine. So you can have some artistic freedom when putting the song together. Okay? And then we get to the final line where we have that E suspended going to the A, and that's originally played like this. Right? Now if you want to, you can change the chord there from E suspended to the G chord. And I'm not writing it out there, but instead of having E suspended, you could have G there, and the tab would be 3, nothing, open, 2, open. G, nothing, open, 2, open. And you could play that using the G chord. Or with the E chord. So once again, you can hear that the melody is the same. Or with the G chord, which once again would be 3, nothing, open, 2, open. We can use the G chord. Okay, now moving on. Then what I have there is a D chord. And the reason I have a D chord there is because now what we're going to do is we're going to modulate. And what that means is we're going to play the song, but we're going to play it in a new key. And that is often done with a lot of Christmas carols, once again, because they are short and they can be repetitious. So we create interest in different ways. We created interest the first time by reharmonizing it. We've been through all of that, and now we're going to continue to create interest by changing the key. So at the end of the first sheet, we have those 2 A chords going to that D chord, 2, open, open, 2, and that's taking us to the key of G. So we go to the next page, and we're going to play the song, but now we're going to play it in the key of G. Okay? Now, I have a little star above that melody note. The melody is 1, open, 1, then back to the G chord. Now the reason I have that star up there, I'm going to put this star up here while I can, is you can use any of those 3 chords up there to harmonize those 3 notes. You can use the A minor 7, you can use the C, you can use the F2, harder to play. I play it, this one pretty well has to be played with the thumb. There's really not an option if you want to play what's written there. It's 1, 3, 3, open, 1. So it would be, so once again, when you get to that 3rd measure, it can be A minor 7, it can be C, it can be F2. Okay, so I'm going to play it from the start of that key change there on the new sheet in the key of G. Okay, I chose to use the C chord. Any of those 3 could have been used. And next we have an arpeggio. We have that's taking us to an E minor chord. So there we have, so when we get there, we want to put our hand on the E minor chord in its entirety, but then we're just picking the open E, and then let the pick continue to the next 3 strings, pick the open G to the D. I tend to use my thumb, as you know. You can use those 2 fingers if you want. Back to the G, to the E minor. Now we have that same situation again. That's why the star is there. We have those 3 melody notes, 1, open, 1, going back to the G chord. So once again, you can use any of those 3 chords above. So I'm going to go back to the beginning. And when I get to the first start area, I'm going to pick one of the chords. When I get to the second start area, I'm going to pick a different one. Here we go. Okay, let me go back and revisit when you're playing those 2 arpeggios at the end of the first line there. So you're on this second arpeggio, and that's kind of what your fingers look like. So the next chord you're going to is the E minor. So these 2 fingers here just have to, one needs to come down and one needs to go up, and then you're on your E minor. So keep that in mind. That's a pretty easy change. You drop to that E minor, and then you just play the open E, let the pick continue, and then the open G. Okay? So keep that in mind when you're playing that area. It's really not hard at all. Getting down to line 3, we're going to a D chord, and we want to just drop completely into the D. However you want to do it, you can do it with no thumb, or you can do it with the thumb, but we want to make sure at the beginning of that measure that we're completely on the chord, because we're going to do the same thing we did in the line above. We're going to play the bass note, then let the pick continue, back to the G chord, A minor 7, back to the inverted D, leave the pinky down, go to the G, Play the open E. Back to the D. Okay, I'll play it from the top. And once again, I'm gonna, when I get to that start area, I have my choice of one of those three chords. Arpeggio. Drop to the E minor. E minor. Land the D chord. Okay, so I will go ahead and play it from the beginning and do the modulation. When I get down to the sixth line, I'm going to play it as originally written. Once again, you know you have options there. Just so you know what I'm doing, I'm going to just play it as originally written. That is to say, as it appears on the page. I'm going to use the A and the D minor, the E suspended, and so on and so forth. Okay, so from the top, 3, 4. D, new key. Okay, there you go. So we'll finish this up in the new key next week, and then we'll move on to something new. If you have any questions, of course, feel free to ask. And other than that, hang in there, and we'll talk to you soon.